Hey, what's good? It's your boy, Coach Colin Castella, back with another banger of a video where today we're gonna break down how Tyler Herro has been scoring the basketball. All right, now I know it's been a minute since I've done some of these breakdown videos, but I think it is about time to jump back into it. And what better way to start than with Tyler Herro, who has been absolutely lights out to start the NBA season. So today we're gonna break down his game where he had 26, 7, and 6, and really show you how he got his buckets and why he got his buckets. But before we jump into it, this video is brought to you by my guys over at Pro Class. Pro Class is the revolutionary new training platform where you get to learn the training secrets from professional athletes themselves. And with Pro Class basketball, you get instant access to unlock training with some of the world's best basketball players. Guys like Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, DeMar DeRozan, and even Tyler Herro. So just hit the link in the description down below and check out proclass.com today. All right, so let's just jump right into it. So the very first play, you'll notice Tyler Herro has been hitting a lot of threes off of the pull-up dribble. A lot of times this is in a high pick and roll situation, and this is actually kind of a difficult shot to shoot because you're moving downhill and your speed is going quickly. But Tyler does a great job of getting on balance and going into his shot. Now the biggest key here you're gonna notice is when he goes to shoot, his feet are a little bit more squared to the basket, which is totally normal when you're shooting a pull-up jump shot going towards your dominant hand side. But what's really cool is watch his feet. As he goes into his jump shot, he actually lets his right leg drift forward slightly, and that unlocks the tension in his upper body and in his shoulders, allowing for fluid, smooth release. So one thing you can take away from this of your own game is if you're going into a shot and you're dribbling towards your dominant hand side, feel free to unlock that upper body tension by letting that leg drift forward slightly. Now, the faster you're going and the more momentum you have, the more you're gonna wanna swing that leg to unlock it, and we're gonna talk about that later on in this video as well. But overall, he gets a great look because he gets on balance and then unlocks that tension. All right, like I mentioned, Tyler gets a ton of buckets out of the pick and roll. So in the next spot where we see him get a good bucket is off of a step back coming out of a pick and roll, this time going to his left. So what a lot of people don't realize is it's actually easier to shoot a step back or shoot off a separation going to your weak hand. So if you're a right-handed player, most of the time shooting a step back coming to your left is easier. So on this particular play, notice Tyler Herro sets up the pick and roll really well, but as he comes off of it, his primary read is initially looking at the help side defender or the man who was guarding the pick. So what's great about this is he notices this man is starting to drop back just slightly, and so his next read is, all right, I'm gonna create that separation for a jump shot. Now, a lot of people don't take advantage of a step back out of a pick and roll, but it's actually one that works really well because as you notice in this clip as well, as Tyler Herro's defender is fighting over the screen, they're worried about getting back to the basket and stopping that layup, right? Anytime you puncture the middle, you're gonna get a lot of great looks. So what you'll notice is as Tyler starts to turn the corner on that pick and roll, his defender fights over the top and then takes a straight line angle to try to cut him back off to the basket, really opening themselves up to get burned with a step back. So what I would love you to do is on your own game, work on getting a ton of step back reps coming out of a pick and roll, and especially to your your non-dominant hand side, because you're gonna get a lot of those looks just by the way defenses tend to play a pick and roll. All right, so the next clip up, Tyler gets a really great look at the three-point line, and this is set off of a flare cut. So it all starts with how he sets it up, right? So you notice the ball's on the opposite side of the floor, and a skip pass is always one of the best ways to get an open jump shot. So what you'll notice is as the ball's on the opposite side, Tyler begins his cut towards the basketball, forcing his defender to slide with him. That way they think he's cutting to the ball, right? So it kind of sets up that flare cut to begin with. So once he begins his flare, the next piece that I really want you to pay attention to is how he kind of plays possum, or he acts like he's not necessarily gonna shoot once he catches the ball, right? A lot of athletes get really hyper eager before the ball gets there and their hands go up like this and they kind of act like they're getting ready to shoot. And because of that, the defender gets triggered and they go, hey, my guy's gonna get ready to shoot the basketball. I'm gonna close out really hard, right? But what he does instead is he's kind of relaxed, he's kind of casually, kind of puts one hand up a little bit as he's catching it. And because of that, the defender's hands stay down somewhat and they don't get a very good closeout. So from there, now Tyler's already put himself in a great position to get a better look than he normally would have. Now, once the ball gets there, this is when the true magic happens because Tyler's moving hard to his dominant hand side. And like I talked about the leg drift before, this is a prime example of him moving faster, so him needing a bigger leg drift. So as you watch, as he goes into his jump shot, he actually swings his hips all the way around, swings his right leg forward, and kind of acts as a counterbalance as he's going into that shot, landing on just his left foot. Now, a lot of coaches will say, hey, this is a bad shot, you're off balance, etc., but he's actually not off balance. That counterbalanced leg swing is actually what's allowing him to hit this shot and be able to hit it at a much higher clip. I've seen athletes, kind of add a leg drift onto specific shots in specific situations and really make a ton more shots right away. So remember, the faster you're moving, generally speaking, the larger leg drift you're gonna need, and then you'll be cashed just like Tyler. All right, so we've seen Tyler light it up from the three-point line, but now let's take a look at his mid-range pull-up. So the thing that I love about Tyler, and especially this year, is he's playing with a lot better pace. He's being a little bit more methodical, and he's letting the game come to him and getting to the right spot. So on this particular play, you notice that now the defender's gonna go under the pick and roll, and so they're actually gonna stay in front of him and play some pretty good defense on his initial drive. But here, he doesn't panic, he doesn't cough up the ball really early, he doesn't try to force an early shot, but instead he absorbs the contact of the defender, goes into a nice little spin move, and then has an opportunity for a decently tough pull-up 15-footer. But the big part here is, again, watch the big swing of his legs, right? He can't get his feet tilted on his jump shot initially, and so as he releases the shot, his leg comes through. Now, the other big key that I want you to think about, especially on your 15-foot pull-ups, is you gotta get good spring, right? Generally, the closer you are to the basket, the more contested your shots are going to be. And so once you get in, if you don't get enough lift on your mid-range shot, a lot of times you're gonna get tipped, it's gonna get highly contested, and it's gonna throw you off, right? But if you notice Tyler, he gets really good lift on his jumper, and it's basically because as he's getting ready to shoot, he sticks his toe on his last step, keeping his heel off the ground, almost creating a springboard for himself to launch into the jump shot. Now, a massive mistake that a lot of players make is they plant that heel into the ground, and when they plant the heel, the ground sucks all that energy, and then they can't get that lift, right? Think about jumping off of a diving board. You're never gonna jump and plant your heels on it. You're gonna stay springy like a cat on the balls of your feet, right? That's more athletic. So if you watch Tyler, that's one reason why he's able to hit this shot. It's because he sticks that toe, plants hard, and gets a nice kind of lift into his jump shot. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is anytime you're shooting a 15-footer, generally speaking, you're not going to be able to jump straight up and down on your jump shot, right? A lot of coaches want to teach, being on balance where you jump straight up and land straight down, but it just doesn't really work like that, especially when you're shooting from the mid-range. So you notice as Tyler's getting ready to shoot, his shoulders sway backwards, his feet come forward slightly, and because of that, it relaxes his shot, it gives him better, more optimized arc on his shot, and it allows him to shoot over that highly contested defender's arm. So what a lot of people don't realize is your shot's not necessarily going to be the exact same every time. There's going to be pieces that are the exact same, but different small elements are going to tweak depending on where you're at on the court, for example, in the mid-range. Now guys, I'm telling you, the game doesn't have to be hard, and that's one reason why Tyler has really kind of excelled this year. So in this next clip, you'll notice the pick and roll comes, he decides to reject it this time and not go over the top of it because the defender's playing a little bit high. But as he comes down, remember what I talked about earlier. A lot of times when you're attacking your non-dominant hand, this time his left, a step back is a great opportunity because the defender's really gonna try to drive to cut you off to go to the basket. So again, he has a nice crossover to set it up. So already he gets the defender on their heels a little bit. And because of that, once he drives, he's got a great opportunity to break off his line and go into that step back. Now, another reason why a step back's so great going to your non-dominant hand side is because you're gonna have better alignment with your shooting arm and your shooting elbow. So check this out. As he hits that step back, his shooting arm and his shooting elbow are already in perfect alignment with the rim, and he doesn't have to adjust his feet any, right? If he's shooting a step back going to his dominant hand side, he would have to have that leg drift come through, he'd have to get his hips around, all that sort of good stuff, but this is actually a lot easier. That's why you see some of the best scorers of all time, whether they be the guys like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, even a guy like Carmelo Anthony still in the league today, have been so good at separation going to their non-dominant hand is because of this simple tweak. So keep that in mind. A lot of times players think, hey, a step back's a harder shot, so I probably shouldn't take it. But sometimes it's actually an easier shot if that's what the defense is giving you because your body's already optimized to shoot it. Now in this next clip, it really shows how Tyler Herro is taking that next step in his development. Before when he was younger, and especially his rookie and his sophomore year, sometimes he'd tend to press and he'd tend to rush. And if he had too much pressure on him, a lot of times that's when he would give it up, right? But you'll notice how methodical and how he takes his time on this clip. So in this particular clip, you notice the defender is up on him tight. So he hits him with a quick little crossover, and then as the defender jumps, he hits him with a super nice pound pivot move to go back towards the baseline, essentially utilizing the defender's movement against them. And here, he's not in a rush. He doesn't feel like he needs to get all the way to the basket to get a shot contested amongst the trees. He finds that open pocket and hits a very nice pull-up jump shot. Again, same keys that we saw before. Stick the toe, elevate high, knock it down. Now, on top of it, Tyler has added more range to his jump shot. So in this clip, you see the ball gets knocked away, but he's still patient. He takes his time. He's not super rushed, right? And so when he comes off of this pick and roll this time, he notices he has a ton of space in front of him, even though it's a fairly deep shot. So for this particular one, what I want you to really key and focus on is his energy transfer and momentum. As he's going into his jump shot, even though it's off the dribble, the ball and his hips move at the exact same time up. So as he starts to pick the basketball up, that's when his hips began firing into the jump shot. Most of the time, players do the opposite, right? When they go to shoot a deep jump shot, they bring the ball up to their forehead quick, their hips stay loaded, and because of that, they lose a ton of momentum, right? But just like an uppercut punch being nice and fluid all the way through, Tyler does the exact same thing on this deep jump shot, and because of that, even though he's deep, and even though he's actually on the run and moving pretty quickly, he can still get a very accurate shot because he's maximized his energy transfer so he doesn't have to force it and ruin the rest of his mechanics. And listen, fellas, I'm telling you, when you own the pace and you own the speed of which you're gonna play, you can do pretty much whatever you want to on the court. This next clip is a fantastic example. If Tyler Herro, is stuck, picks up his dribble, using his pivot, whatever it may be, the defenders close the space and they're right on him. He takes his time, relaxes, and gets the shot that he wants at the pace that he wants. Splashdown, nothing you can do about that on defense. It doesn't matter how great a D you play. If you have an offensive skill set like Tyler's in this situation, easy money. So the next time you play, watch Tyler Herro and watch for some of these things. And you're gonna notice he's doing them very regularly in pretty much every game. A lot of reasons why he's having success this season. So hey, if this video was helpful, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, ding the bell notification. That way you get all of our breakdowns and videos as soon as they come out. We got a lot of really cool stuff planned for 2022 that you're not gonna wanna miss. And next, leave a comment in the comment section down below. We base pretty much everything we do on this channel off a request, so leave it down below and hopefully we're able to get to it. Again, big thanks to our team over at proclass.com for sponsoring this video. Again, if you want the best virtual training in the world, you are not gonna wanna miss it. Click the link down below to get started today. All right, again, I'm Coach Colin Castell with ShotMechanics Basketball. Thanks for watching, and until next time, splash on.